Greetings to the Conscious Collective. There you guys are. There you are. No, I'm really the one that's a little late. Greetings, greetings, greetings. Thank you for joining me for this live. We will be beginning shortly on our topic today. There's a phrase in the Christian Bible, and I've said often, a lot of people think my teachings are anti God, and they really are based in God. They're anti-religious. A lot of my things that I share are anti-religious. A lot of people interpret that to mean that I'm like anti-God, and which is kind of a stretch because I think I'm pro-God. I just would like the teachings to be correct and people to have a better understanding of that, as opposed to the gatekeeping and the corruption and the manipulation that goes around a lot of spiritual teachings. And that's of all faiths. They can be used to control people. So we're going to begin with our morning psychic practice just to warm up a little bit as people come in and as we start to discuss our topic. We're going to begin with our remote viewing. You see 3 numbers up there. I hope everyone can hear me okay. And we have 3 cards. And I'm going to place the cards in no particular order. And then we're going to interpret. We're going to try to remote view where I am placing my Palo Santos. Just tell me in your mind, or keep notes on your own, where you think that Palo Santos was placed. And then we'll get into our topic shortly. Our star seeds, the biblical Meek that would inherit the earth. How does that exactly work? If you're not familiar with a lot of Christian teachings, there is a phrase. This was placed on number 2. All right, there is a phrase in Christian Bible about the meek inheriting the earth, and I think it's a timely topic as a lot of things are going on. People think they're winning. They're not winning. They're losing. Because what profits a man if he gains the whole world but loses his soul? Can we say that again? What profit a man if he gains the whole world but he loses his soul? And this is the thing that matters the most. It's not so much. We are so caught up in the actual material world of gaining, and not realizing that there's a larger picture here at play. You can't take any of this with you, but you continue. You actually continue. Now, there is a way, a corrupt way to be born back into your line, okay? There is a corrupt way to be born back into your line, right? As you reincarnated, right? You can be born back into your ancestral line. And some of us, it was placed on 1. Some of us had ancestors that were doing nothing, and then we received no wealth. So we're born back, starting over again. But that's funny. All right. We're doing our morning remote viewing. We're waking up. We're getting started. I have a request for the Conscious Collective. Greetings to everyone coming in. Divine Rising. If you just came in, we're going to have a topic today. Our Starseeds, the biblical meek that would inherit the earth. How does that exactly work? Are you the meek that scripture speaks of? Our Starseeds, the meek. All right. We have to understand what the meek is, and then we'll know we have a better guidance. So are we that meek that would inherit the earth? All right. The earth will be here, right? The earth is actually splitting into 2 consciousness, one being 3D, one being 5D. Some teachings refer to as heaven and hell, or nirvana, and reincarnation. But it's all about your consciousness. You are not your physical form. You are your consciousness. And if I can get you to understand that, you will have a better understanding how to raise your consciousness and elevate yourself, right? Because this will pass, right? There are more people that have died than are living. This is going to go away, right? And you're going to be reincarnated again. And so what is the point of all this? A lot of us would like to skip that and naturally think that, this will be over with. No, it will not be over with. It will not be over with. We placed that on 2. Well, before we get into that, I have a request for those that have been following me, right? I wear 2 types of Divine Rising, Nicole, Divine Rising. I wear 2 types of hats. They're really called kufis, all right? So I wear 2 types, right? This type and this type. They're both similar, except one is black and white, one is black and white. If you've been practicing, I want you to predict tomorrow which one I will have on. All right. Some people say I wear my kufis to protect my third eye. That's not why I wear them. I wear them honestly because I just look too good bald headed. That's why I wear them. This head, boy, this bald head does it for them. So that's just to tone it down a little bit. Just to tone it down so they can focus on what I'm saying. Not focus on how fine Baba is, okay? Focus on the words coming out of my mouth. So I'm just joking. A little vanity never hurt anyone. Love yourself. Love yourself. Don't always say something bad about yourself. Look in the mirror and say something good about yourself. All right? I'd say when you feed things love, they blossom, they grow. So always say something good about yourself. Don't worry about people talking about, oh, you so conceited, oh, this and that. They don't know your journey. They don't know the things that you had to overcome. They don't know, excuse me, the confidence that you had to build. I had a lot of people disparaging me, saying a lot of things as I grew into my full manhood. And if you don't love yourself, as Cat Williams says, right, why you expect other people to love you? Love yourself, all right? So tomorrow, let me know how can we do this? Write on a piece of paper which cap you think I will be wearing, right? And then keep yourself honest. And see if these exercises are working for you. Right now, we're doing our remote viewing exercise. And we're looking for what number I place this Palo Santos on. But I want to know if it's working in your life by you predicting which cap Baba will be wearing tomorrow. I place that on number 3. I come here to encourage, to share, to raise vibrations. So thank you for joining me. We place that on number 2. So today we will be talking about our starseeds, the biblical Meek that would inherit the earth. If you hang around long enough, you may learn something. You may learn something that aids you in your life journey. That was placed on number 2. How's everyone doing today? Everyone divinely aligned and working in their purpose? That was placed on number 3. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of this conscious conversation. These are conscious conversations. I was a little late starting today, but I'm right on time. Conscious conversation. Great. Divinely aligned and working in our purpose. Building the conscious collective, raising vibrations. I always say it was on number 3. If you don't want to raise your consciousness, don't F with me. If you don't want to be better, And the world is spiraling lower and lower in its density. We can see this in a lot of activities that are going on. People are getting more and more lower vibration, a lot of foolishness going on, a lot of craziness going on, but we are that light in the world. So do not be disturbed by it. Stay focused, keep working on yourself, keep your vibration high. I spell biblical correct, Biblical, biblical. Where did I place that at? Is it on 1, 2, or 3? We're warming up our psychic abilities. I got a challenge for the collective tomorrow to predict which hat or which kufi I will be wearing tomorrow. They're almost identical. One is white and black, and the other one is black and white. It was placed on 1. Did you get 1 right? We're going to move shortly to our next exercise. I think our Ventnor cards will be the next one we do. So we're trying to awaken your psychic abilities, help you develop that gift, intuition. It was placed on 1. Let this be the last one. The collective is growing stronger and stronger every day. Which one is it on? 1, 2, or 3? Is it on 1, 2, or 3? It was placed on 3. That ends that exercise. I'm trying to get back up to speed. So we're going to end that exercise, that practice, and we're going to move to our Ventnor cards. The Ventnor cards consist of 5 cards: yellow circle, red cross, blue wavy lines, and black square, and green star. And in this exercise, we try to predict which card will come up next in the cards that I am holding in my hand. We just finished our remote viewing. This is our predictive exercise. Did you see anything red come up in your mind? A crossroads, red street, red flash, red shoes, anything that gave you some indication of what the next card would be. We're going to get into our topic in a minute, but we're always going to do these exercises. You can count on that. You can count on that. That's a blue wavy lines. Our topic today are Starseeds, the biblical Meek that would inherit the earth. I'm going to explain to you what a lot of spiritual texts mean. They're not meant to be taken literally. They are parables, metaphors, and stories to aid you in your life journey. Too many times we're taking things too literally and we miss the story. We miss the meaning. Not a blue wavy line. And that's why we don't learn the lesson. And these lessons are here to aid us and to guide us in our journey. Which one you think is coming up next? Did anyone see anything green? A star? Something that reminds you of a star? Learn to interpret your thoughts. Because sometimes they're symbolic. Sometimes they are figuratively. You may see something that's a figure or something that is a shape, and it is something that's meant to tell you something. Red cross. Anyone see red cross? My star seeds present today are my light workers. I'm sure we know the difference between starseeds and light workers. Starseeds are light workers, but light workers don't necessarily have to be starseeds. Does it make any sense? Starseeds are light workers, but light workers don't have to be starseeds. because not everyone's a star seed. Some people are native to Gaia. They don't come from a different consciousness, or a different dimension or planetary system. They are native to Gaia. And most of those people are very interested in Wicca. They're very keen on the nature. They love being in the woods. They love being connected to Gaia. They refer to as Mother Gaia. They practice Wicca. Now, the thing is that you can be a lot of things, though, because that's what makes you special, is you can hold a lot of different consciousness. Yeah, you can hold a bunch of different consciousness. That's what makes you special to the universe, because you're the only being that can hold multiple consciousness in your framework. And that's why it's important that we raise our consciousness. The universe is waiting for us to be that bridge to all the other beings out there, to see and be able to communicate from their perspective, because they normally don't associate with each other. Oops, that's 2 cards. Wavy line. What's that? Circle? So after we practice our exercise, the allergies are terrible here. We're going to get into our topic. Our starseeds, the biblical Meek that would inherit the earth. You guys have seen what's going on in the earth? It's like it's forever summer. People are like, oh, the winters were terrible. No, they wasn't. No, they wasn't. Winters were very short. You know it's going to get cold again, but you know we're not in the midst of any really cold weather. Not like it used to be. So yeah, if you're drawn to Wicca, you're drawn to earth magic, but you still feel like you're from a different place or a different dimension, you can hold those 2 consciousness. Because of the way your framework was developed, you can hold multiple consciousness, like holding 2 thoughts at one time. You don't just have to have one thought. You can have multiple thoughts. So you can have multiple consciousness. This would be the last card, because we're going to get into our topics. How you guys doing? You waking up? Good morning. Good morning. The next exercise we're going to do is reading my mind. We do these exercises each morning. I have a challenge for the collective to predict the kufi I will wear tomorrow. I wear 2 types of kufis. Kufis are traditional African headwear. You ever notice that a lot of Black people like to wear things on their heads? You ever notice that? It comes from, I guess you would call a ancient inherent consciousness. Something in us, because if you look at traditional people, ancient people, they always wore some types of headgear. Okay. And so something in us makes us wear more than just a baseball cap, Yeah. Well, some people say it's subconsciously protecting the crown. And I think that may be part of it. Or maybe it is also a crowning, just wearing a crown. But I also think, I just noticed that a lot of times you'll see African Americans or Black people, or sometimes you'll see Native people, they always wear something on their heads. Even when you see somebody with an uncovered head, like a male or female, you're like, wow, cover your head, man. I've looked it up. It's a lot of different reasons for it. It's just curious that we do that. Excuse me. I'm looking at a color. I'm looking at a word. and I'm looking at a number. Looking at a color, a word, or a number. Did you see some greenish color, some like two band-aids almost? The word is home and the number is 10. We're doing our morning exercises just as you get up in the morning, and hopefully you're stretching. Most people are getting up, grabbing their phones. That's a bad habit. No one has sent you any message that's urgent that you need to see right now. That's just something they're training you to do. There's nothing that important. It's much, matter of fact, it's much foolishness, really. Get up and kind of reflect. You should be journaling your thoughts, your dreams. That's what you should be doing in the morning. Write down what your dreams were, because you can go back and read them and get more meaning out of them. You go, kind of do your gratitude. I have a process I do before my feet touch the ground, right? Realigning myself, downloading my higher self into this present plane, checking my chakras, going through each one of them, right? And you can do all that before you have to go to the bathroom. But most people grab their phone and they start giving their attention. Instead of giving that attention to yourself, right, and checking on yourself, you want to check and see what Bobby and Ricky did overnight while you were asleep. It's crazy work, people, crazy work. All right, what's going on with Bobby and Ricky? First thing in the morning, you checking on somebody else. Check on yourself. First thing in the morning, check yourself, right? Become present in the moment before you start checking on what other people done did overnight. They were asleep. They were asleep too, or they should have been asleep. All right. I'm looking at a color, a word, and a number. All right. Stop grabbing those phones first thing in the morning and all day long. When I used to go out, you'll hear people say, like a lot of women saying, I want to go out and meet somebody. I want to go out and find my him, whatever the hell that means. Right. And then when they go out, because it's a lot of pressure to just go into a strange place, then they start to just go on their phones, and they're on their phones, And I'm looking at them like, you could have done that at home. Is that important? Let me ask somebody, is anything on social media important? Is anything on social media, especially now, you used to have some good information and some good, and then if you want to find out what's really going on, sometimes you can find it on social media, but is it more important, right, than you checking on yourself, than you being present in the moment? Is anything, can you see the game they're running on you? They got you in a false reality that's made up of lies, and it's some funny stuff on there, right? I remember, I'm looking at blue, kind of blue, wavy lines, guys, and 07. I remember when they brought out TikTok. You talking about crack talk. It should have been crack talk. You could blow a good 5 hours. When the TikTok first came out, you could blow a good 4 or 5 hours before you knew it, before you just scrolling. I mean, that thing was crazy. And then before you look up, it's like 4 hours have passed. You're like, what? It was just so addictive. And I'm almost glad that they are in the position they are in now, because the way it was, they had us bad. They had us. But I think it was waking us up in a way too. Because you were like, that's interesting. But you could blow 4 or 5 hours. And they have in some places banned social media from children. That stuff is worse than cigarettes. It's the new cigarettes. It just creates this artificial reality and belief system in you that people can't distinguish what's real and what's not real. And I actually think that's the plan now with AI, because now when you see stuff, right, you go, oh, that's AI. That's AI. I don't care what it is. You just say it's AI now. It's AI. And that's what they're going to do when we start to have this contact with extraterrestrials, and we start to, realize that we're not the only things in the universe. Most people are going to say that's AI. Yeah, most people are going to say it's AI and not even pay any attention to it. And I think that's part of the plan. There's levels to the game. There's levels to the game. All right. I was looking at, it's kind of pinkish, and it's the full moon and the 29th. There are levels to the game. So we're finishing up. Read my mind. I have the wrong card up here. Why didn't somebody let me know? Read my mind. And then we're going to get into our talk. Our starseeds, the biblical Meek that will inherit the earth, and how does this actually work for starseeds? You hear a lot of talk about starseeds, light workers, and raising vibration, but no one actually gets into how all this works, what all this means, what you're supposed to be doing. People say, well, I'm awoke. I'm woke, Baba. I'm woke. Okay. I feel you on that. Yeah, I see what's going on. I understand. Okay. All right. I got you, bro. Now what you doing? Well, I'm staying aware, and I'm sharing memes, and I'm sharing, well, that's just really adding more confusion to people who are not ready to receive and understand, and who haven't have a discernment yet. Well, I'm just sharing stuff. I'm showing people stuff. All right. I'm making them think. You ain't doing nothing. You ain't doing nothing, man. I'm looking at Storm. Because where does the work? The conscious collector should know where the work. Where's the work at? Where's the work at? Where's my conscious people at? Where's the work at? Where does it begin, and where does it end at? Looking at Stormy and the sea purple. Did you see that? Where is the work at, Nicole? Where's the work at? How do we do the work? There you go. There you go. The only work is working on yourself. The only work is working on yourself. That is the work. All that memes and all that sharing of pictures and conspiracy theories, you're actually working on behalf of the powers and principalities in power, the entities and the beings in power, because they want to continue to distract you and to keep you outside of yourself. All right, this will be our last one. We're going to get into our topic today. I don't know how long we're going to be on, but we'll see how it goes. I'm looking at a color, a word, and a number. If you saw purple, or the word psychic, or even the number 48 or something like that, you read my mind exactly. So tomorrow's challenge, and maybe everyday challenge, we should have that as a constant challenge and have some way. Okay, so when I post, okay, this is how we're going to do it. When I post the thumbnail that for the morning, it's going to be in the queue of YouTube. You can see a picture of the thumbnail of the morning and what I'll be talking about. Right in the comment section, what kufi you think I will be wearing. Okay. We have 2 kufis, so write that there so we can keep everyone, because you should be able by now to have good discernment, intuition, right? And I'm gonna always come back to, because this is what's key. So I'm gonna be wearing either the gray and black, or the black and gray, or black and white. All right. And you tell me which one you think I'm gonna be wearing tomorrow. Write that in the comments. So you thought a purple spiral? You got that last one right? So, what are we talking about today? Are starseeds biblically the meek that would inherit the earth? Are starseeds the biblical meek that would inherit the earth? Let's see if I can do this correctly. I always do this the wrong way, but we're going to try it and see if I can do it correctly. Let's remove this one. Let's add this one to the stage. And I did it wrong again. Bear with me 1 second. There we go. So, I'm not going to be long as I preach for 3 hours. We can't throw the bathwater out with the baby. We can't discredit spiritual teachings because they have been manipulated and corrupted and used for people's own nefarious means. I think there's still good lessons to be learned, and I also think there's some relatable stories that will give us a clear understanding of a lot of things if it's read or interpreted correctly. And a lot of times teachings are layered. Like life is people like to just see white and black. But you have to understand that it's complicated. Life is complicated. And there are layers to it. And the easy way that I can explain these layers is that you may be a mother. You may be a daughter. You may be a grandmother, or you may be a brother, or a son, or a daughter. You are many things. You know what I'm saying? So it's layers to you. You're not the same thing to everybody. All right. Everyone has an image of you in their mind of you, and everyone's image of you may be different. I read somewhere that somebody is thinking about you that you don't even remember your interaction with. Somebody is remembering something you did that you don't even remember meeting them, but they are remembering your interaction with them. And you don't even remember meeting them at all. That's why it's always good to be your highest version of yourself. You leave energetic crumbs everywhere you go. And so you always want to be the best version of yourself because that is what you're going to leave people with. So when we look at some of the information that's in some of these spiritual teachings, and I relate it into Christianity because we live in a Judeo-Christian society where Christianity is very prominent here, but it's been corrupted and manipulated for certain power structures to control people. And we see it in our own interactions with it. And so a lot of people ignore it. They don't want no parts of it, right? But you're missing some of the lessons that can aid you in your journey. So I'm going to always try to connect those two. I'm going to always try to start at a point of reference that you may have been already exposed to. And then I'm going to try to modernize it into the way that we understand it in our current world. Now, there was no one named Matthew, Luke, John, Paul in that time that the Bible was proposed to have been written. And for people to quote it like those names were actually, we know people in those periods in that region don't have names like that. They don't have names like that. Okay. And so we know that there's already a manipulation taking place already. And so we have to understand, right, that there's a corruption already from the beginning. But that does not negate the value of what the message is. And that's what we have to be careful of, that we don't just throw everything out because people have used it for their own nefarious means. So what that has to do with what I'm talking about is that when we look at this phrase, and I was looking at different phraseologies in biblical teachings, and it just kind of came into my being as a download that a lot of this may be talking about the starseed journey, the lightworker journey. When we look at how Christ consciousness, and I don't say Jesus Christ, Christ consciousness, so I am the light, I am the way, I am the truth. We've been told that he was speaking of himself. But what if metaphorically he was speaking of the path that we take? I am the path, I am the way, I am the truth. What if metaphorically it was talking about how you become the light of the world? Then we can get a deeper understanding of that. So when we look at the meek shall inherit the earth, we're going to apply it to this constant need for prosperity and abundance that we've been taught. Everyone says, if I just had more money, if I just had more money, if I just had more money. And everyone wants to be rich. Everyone wants to be abundant. But none of that prosperity and abundance matters in your eternal soul. And it's going to matter less as we move into 5D reality. You think that we're going to be operating on the same structures that were corrupt in 3D? You think we're going to have the same value systems that we have in 3D are they going to be the same in 5D reality, 5D consciousness? They're not. They're not. There are subtle changes taking place right now. Remember, attention used to be the currency on these social media platforms. Attention was what you did to go viral. Attention was what you did to build your following. You know, any kind of foolishness was enough to get you a huge following. Just think about it. People were building huge platforms on dancing, poor dancing at that too. You have people who made a lot of money doing choreographed dancing on these social media platforms, and it was horrible dancing. I don't care what no one said. They didn't even have rhythm or anything, but now you don't see that. You don't see that. That attention value has lost its appeal. What's becoming more valuable now is knowledge, information. How can you help someone grow? How can you expand their mind? That was a good thing about TikTok. TikTok was a very knowledge-based platform. And people found a lot of value in that. So now you're seeing people fall off from social media because they don't find any value in that. And if you're always seeking attention through entertainment, that's going to be something you're always chasing. Your value has to be in what you bring to people's life to help them grow, to help them expand their mind. So we're going to talk about how the meek will inherit the earth by their value that they bring, not by this constant chase for money, constant chase for prosperity, this constant chase for the material world, because the material world will change. Excuse me. It will change, right? You used to have value was dictated by what they call cocoa shells, those little shells they used to trade in sub-Saharan Africa. And then it went to some systems had the 8 pieces or 8 silver, you know. The Spanish doubloon was what the currency was. The US dollar became the dominant currency. A lot of people say we're moving to the yen, right? Those things will always change. Those value systems will always, change in 3D. Right now, they move into cryptocurrency, which is not based on anything. And I think that's going to aid in the decline of Western civilization because there's no value in crypto. It's not based on any real value. It's just made up. Okay. But you can have value. The information and knowledge that you have will always be valuable. It will always be something you can trade. I always tell people, you know, it is good to be American because you are valued all over the world. Some Americans are hated, and you go places, but a lot of us don't fit into those categories because they understand our role in the system, but we still benefited from the knowledge and the education that can be valuable any place in the world. Just the ability to teach English. English is not a dominant language because of America. English is a dominant language because it's easy to learn. I'm listening to, and this is no disparity on anyone. I'm listening to somebody was translating something someone said in Spanish to me, and they were talking for, I guess, they had to be talking for about 10, 15 seconds, just saying things right. And I said, so what did they say? And they summed it up in like 4 words. I'm like, what? Why they was talking for about 5 to 15 minutes. And then when the person translated it, they translated it in like 5 words. So this is what makes English such a very valuable language. It's very short, and you can express yourself in a very short amount of sentences or words. And so the ability to teach English is valued all over the world. So if you go anywhere and you want to get a foothold, right, just open up English speaking classes. Rent a space and then just teach English to the native population. You notice that when you call these helplines, they try to speak in English, but they mix they don't understand the context of it. And so they be saying things, and they're not English speakers. That's not their native language. And they're getting better at it. But someone is teaching them that. Someone is teaching them the context of English and the wordings. And now when they're on the phone with you, you're like, you're still a foreigner speaker, but you're foreign speaking. But I get that you're getting better. Before, you couldn't understand nothing they were talking about. Nothing at all. But now you see the value in that. So let's get back and let's relate this to how the meek shall inherit the earth and how that applies to starseeds and light workers. Maybe I would change it to our starseeds and light workers, the biblical meek that would inherit the earth, because I don't want to leave my light workers community out of it. As I said earlier, you can be all starseeds are light workers, but all light workers are not starseeds. But I don't want to leave them out of this conversation. So we got to understand the deeper meaning of meekness, what meekness is. People have misinterpreted meekness to be weak and submissive. When you're meek, you're supposed to be weak and submissive. That's not where the word meek comes from. Meek actually comes from the Greek word praus, P-R-A-U-S, praus. It actually means strength under control. That's what meekness actually meant. Again, it's been misinterpreted. Like I keep trying to explain to people, you're reading these biblical stories and you're misunderstanding them. You're misunderstanding the metaphors, you're misunderstanding the meaning, the things that can aid you in your life. They've been corrupted. They want you to think meekness means submissive because they want you to submit. That's what religions want you to do. They change things so they can control you, but that's not what meekness means. Look it up. Look up the etymology of meekness. The etymology of meekness comes from the Greek word Paras, Praus, paras, it means your strength under control. And I told the story of a fight I saw in Chicago of this gentleman beating the brakes off another gentleman. And the first gentleman was very quiet. He was very quiet until the guy touched him, and then all hell released on that guy. And we all know that the quiet people are the ones that could be the most dangerous. The ones that you think are meek, the ones that you think are quiet, right? If you push them the wrong way, you will be surprised by that A whipping you get. So we have to understand that meekness is not about weakness. Meekness is actually strength, discipline, and alignment. Meekness refers to your self-control, your humility, and your disciplined strength. So first thing, we got to understand meekness. Before we can go any farther, we have to understand what meekness is. When it says our starseeds and lightworkers, the biblical meek that would inherit the earth. Let's first understand who the meek are. The meek are the ones who remain under self-control, in humility, gratitude, and have disciplined strength. They know the amount of force to be applied in a situation. They will beat the brakes off you, but they will stop from unaliving you if it doesn't call for that. Meekness is an inner mastery. Prosperity often requires emotional discipline and clarity. A lot of us are not prospering because we don't stay focused. If you can focus on something for 5 minutes, right, you can do anything. But a lot of us don't remain focused, and that's why prosperity escapes us. A meek person does not react impulsively to circumstances, but acts with patience, thoughtfulness, decision-making. This inner mastery, soul sovereignty, inner mastery helps create stability and wise choices which support their long-term abundance, not always jerking left and right because the situation seems like it has changed. You heard me talk about how I was driving my son one day. He was really little. And this ugly bug, I had my hand on the window, and this ugly bug just landed. I mean, this thing was, I've never seen a bug like that. It was no ladybug. I mean, I would have like flicked it off, or like one of them mosquito bug stuff. I don't know. This is like a mutated bug or something. And my son saw it, and I saw it land on my arm. And he started to scream and carry on. He was a little boy, scream and carry on. And I'm driving a car at the time, and I had to flick it off my arm, right? And I was like, calm down, man, calm down, right? And he said, Daddy, were you scared? I said, yeah, I was scared of it, but you always have to remain in some type of self-control. It doesn't do us any good for me to lose my mind and hit something driving, run into a wall, run into another car because there's a bug on me. So I say that to say that in every situation, you have to maintain some type of self-mastery. And a lot of times we find ourselves in trouble is because we're impulsive. I watched this guy unalive another guy over this guy giving the number, his girlfriend giving the number to the guy, and he unalived the guy, right, for him taking the number. And you look at the things that bring people into the jails and bring people to being unalive, you realize a lot of it was impulsive. If they would just remain in control, take a couple of deep breaths, master yourself. Until you do that, there's no need of you having any wealth or abundance or any prosperity, because you will lose it because you're impulsive. You don't have any self-mastery. You probably have made millions of dollars in your lifetime, but you have spent it impulsively without any self-control. You know, when you're standing in the supermarket line and they have all those shelves with magazines and all those shelves with candy and stuff while you're waiting there, they rely on you being impulsive. You're like, who's reading this magazine? Those magazines get sold. They get sold. Like, who the hell is reading this? Why they have a star and people right there? Because people are going to start flipping through it, and then they're going to throw it on the counter and they're going to buy it. People going to look at the candy because they have no self-control and like, let me get some of these gummy bears. They start throwing things because they don't have any self-mastery. Self-mastery has to be practiced. This is not to condemn anybody. This is just to make you aware of how you're being manipulated. And in that awareness, in that understanding, you make better choices. This is all that I'm trying to share. I wish I could do something more engaging because I think this is invaluable information, but it's given to me that this is for those that are ready to receive it. So I'm just going to have to share it the way that I have it. And hopefully I trust that it resonates with those that are ready for this. Because this is going to end up to your benefit. Nothing that you are being entertained by, once you have given your attention to that, it doesn't value you. It doesn't improve your life. It doesn't help you in any kind of way. Kevin Hart is funny as F. And I like to watch him. But once I give him my attention, all right, he gets paid off that. I don't get paid off that. Your attention is valuable. Why do you think that entertainers and people are so rich? Because your attention is valuable and you don't realize how quickly you give it away, how fast you just give it away. And you don't give any attention to yourself, which is crazy work. That inner mastery helps create stability and wise choices which support your long-term abundance. Your humility opens the door to your learning. The more that you learn, the more you should realize what you don't know. And you should always be in a constant state of learning. Those who approach life with humility are more open to learning and growth. Prosperity frequently comes through continuously learning, collaboration, and adaptation. And humility allows a person to remain teachable. In this work that I do, I offer those opportunities to continue to learn and continue to grow. That you continue to expand your consciousness through your awareness. From everything from the Patreon to actually attending online modality trainings. And not only just for your constant ability to know things, but also for the growth of your spirit too. Check out the links and find a place where you can continue to grow and learn that, because that is going to be directly related to the value that you bring to anything. And as I said earlier, your value is what's important. What you can bring beyond entertainment is going to be what's lasting as we move into this supernatural wealth transfer that we're going through. Let's look at that patient and long-term vision. Inheriting the earth means something received over time, not something that's seized quickly. You have powers that be right now are trying to claim things quickly, and it's not gonna end well. All it's gonna do is destroy, put this up in a cycle of violence that constantly destroys each other. And that's what 3D Earth does. 3D gonna keep 3Ding. But for those that understand that our consciousness is something that is tangible, will be able to move into a 5D reality, a 5D consciousness based in love, collaboration, prosperity, and abundance. When you remain meek, remember I said meek is an inner strength. It encourages your patient and persistent qualities often required for building your lasting prosperity. I want to discuss stewardship as a part of meekness and responsibility. When we look at the term, the meek will inherit the earth, right? We look at inherit as something that implies your responsibility towards. The meek often are those who understand stewardship. So if we go back to the biblical understanding of the Garden of Eden, and we look for lessons in there, lessons to aid us in our growth, right? We look first at the presence of divine source in the garden. I want to submit that is contradictory to churches and buildings. Religion wants you in a church and in a building and closed off and disconnected from what source, divine source, actually created you in according to their teachings. You wasn't created and placed in a building. You were placed in a garden. What is a garden? Nature. Nature is our natural element. Not if, and I've said this often, I'm gonna keep saying it. It's impossible for your limited mind to know God. You don't have the mental capacity. You don't know, you can't even do algebra. You can't, well, God is not algebra. If God is not algebra, tell me how the planets and stars and all this stuff moves around. There's a deeper understanding of things that we can't even grasp. We can't even understand. So how do you understand the creator of all of it, the source of all of it, to the point where you can tell me what that source wants of me? When you can't even do calculus. Don't tell me that the divine source is not rooted in our highest understanding of mathematics, because source has mastered all of that. Do you know when you move, right, your brains is doing millions and millions of calculations that you're not even thinking about? But they've done, when they try to program robots, they have to write these huge, massive programs just to get it to do one thing. And you do it, a baby does it at 2. You are the original technology. Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are the original technology. So you are not going to convince me, no way ever, that you know anything about source, about God, and you wrote it in a book. When God and source can't be contained in a book. But we can experience source and God. We can experience it in our environment. We can see with our 5 senses. We can explore with our mind. And we can have some experience of source in the environment that we're in. That's why it's important that you understand where these teachings says you were created and how you had an interaction. Like, well, they say in the Bible that God walked through the garden in the cool of the day and he talked to Adam and he spoke to Eve, right? Source God still does that in its environment, not in these churches and buildings, but in nature. And actually the planet that it created. That if you're in there and you are communing with nature, that you are connecting with source in the original way that the connection was laid out. So when we look at that, we look at, okay, in that, we see that according to the teachings, that you were given stewardship over nature. You were given protection of it. Being able to manage it wisely. And this is what the inheritance is the managing of these resources wisely, treating people fairly, and maintaining a balance in there. As you take, you give. As you give, you take. We don't see that happening now. We see people just taking from the earth, just taking. You can go some places, right? And they have dug out so much of the earth. Even your iPhones, the necessary material needed for your iPhone, I think it's called cobalt. You talk about blood diamonds. You should look at how they actually make iPhones. They are exploiting the people to dig out the cobalt in these tunnels where people are losing their lives to bring these resources up so you can have a new phone. That is not managing earth resources responsibly. That's why I am trying to get you to understand that is not sustainable. That 3D is collapsing on itself. And 5D is the process in which you actually are responsible for the earth in a responsible way. To be meek is also to be calm in difficult situations. Meekness can also be seen as calm strength under pressure. Those who maintain composure during challenges are better able to make clear decisions and protect their opportunities. There are a lot of challenges that are before us right now, and there are going to be more challenges. As they say, remain calm and chime on. Is that remain calm and chive on? Remain calm. Everything is working out perfectly. Everything's in alignment. Remain calm. As the pressure gets applied, and they have tested it over and over again, and we keep failing the test. They tell us a storm is coming. It's the worst storm of the century. You may not survive this. Stay in the house. And we all run to the store. Well, I don't. People run to the store and literally don't buy nothing for their survival. I don't know how Captain Crunch is going to save you. If the world absolutely, if the world collapses, I don't know what that Captain Crunch is going to do for you. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Y2K. Y2K was back in the day, right? Y2K was they didn't understand because computers were programmed with 9999 and we were entering the year 2000, they didn't know if these systems were going to be able to understand it and switch over. So Y2K was a big scare, right? That the whole world was going to come to a screeching halt. And that we would have to, because we didn't program our computers right, we were going to actually have to go back to prior to computers. And I made a lot of money doing Y2K because they brought out this phony ass patch that you put on a computer program that was supposed to help it get to 2000. The patch didn't do anything, but it made people feel better. Okay. But as I was thinking about Y2K and the world ending, right? And people talking about, well, we got to learn how to do things on our own. We got to learn how to survive. We got to learn how to do this, right? It dawned on me that we are a system. Everyone has a part to play in the system. I don't know how to make no clothes. That's not my part. I thought food came from the store. I don't know where food comes from after that. I see it in the store. We have other people that do that stuff, that play their part. And if any part of those people are missing, it breaks down. So I'm like, okay, if Y2K ends the world, I have to end too, because I can't do anything but what I've been trained to do. I don't know how to hunt. I can't sew nothing. So that taught me early about the collective community, how important it is to be a community and to be a collection, a collective. So those of us that can remain calm when we go through this difficult period that's coming shortly, things are happening fast. You're being lulled into this sense of everything's okay. Everything's not okay. You see peaks of it. Hell, you don't know if you go out tomorrow and that will be your last day because the world is so chaotic. There's nothing guaranteed. Let's move on to prosperity through your character. Wealth and abundance are not only financial, they include your relationship, your influence, and your well-being, the value you bring. I was listening to this discussion about Africa and Black foundational Americans. Is it Black American Foundation, BAF or BFA? Well, this is idea that Blacks in America are foundational to America, and other minorities have only taken advantage of that foundation that Blacks have already established. Somebody could correct me and tell me what it is. FBA. Yes, FBA. Foundational Black Americans. And it's an interesting concept. It's a very interesting concept because it came about, in really short story about it, came about because a lot of people were mistakenly, which is hilarious to me, were mistaken during this ICE situation we're going through that Black people were going to be deported. It was almost ludicrous to me because that's why it didn't register to me, because it just sounded like something dumb. And as I looked into it, I'm like, why do you think Black people will be deported? To where? Now, if you send me back to Chicago, I'm gonna fight tooth and nail, right? And so it came to this debate about it that they finally had to admit that Black people are foundational to America. Even the ones that are racist against Black people have to agree that we are foundational to the system. We have been here since the beginning, and we will always be here. To the chagrin of some people, we will always be here. Hey, there is some thought that Blacks that Blacks or melanated people are the indigenous people on every continent. That we were indigenous here before we were even brought here. Some people, I mean, they have strong evidence of that. That we were actually here before there was some story of us coming here. So there's been this debate going back and forth with other minorities, and a lot of blacks are, I'd say, have a good point on we welcome you with open arms. We fought for a lot of rights, a lot of privileges that current immigrants enjoy, and that we weren't respected for it. We were almost degraded for it and disrespected. As you come into someone's home, you assume that the master is the servant, and you want to mistreat the person you assume is the servant. I'm not going to get too racial about it, because I try to make it inclusive so people can understand that, this is just a temporary form. This is not a permanent form. My color and my sex is not permanent. It's just temporary. We are light beings and we transcend this. But I'm bringing home a point though about it. Okay, that they misinterpret what they were told as being the truth, that we were some type of second class citizens, that we had no standing here. And so this debate has been raging back and forth. We came up with the term FBAs, right? To clarify our position, even to the point of expressing that we are the culture of America. I'm just relaying what I heard. That we are the culture. And when you investigate, you are hard pressed to find where we don't influence something in America. When you investigate it, you really are, you can hardly find anywhere that we don't influence America. They may say what they want to say, call names, disparage people, even unalive you. But I guarantee you go into any suburb and you're going to see somebody playing the music that we created or imitating us in some kind of way. So as they're arguing about this, I'm just relaying a discussion I heard. As they're arguing about this, right, the FBAs are expressing that if your country, I'm trying to not get racial on here, is so great, then why don't you stay there and make it great? Why don't you make your country great? That's what they're sharing back and forth. I'm gonna get to a point of it, right? Right? That's what they're sharing. Well, if your country's so great, why don't you stay there and make it great? Why are you over here complaining? Someone even said that we can go anywhere. Well, Haitians are not allowed to go back home because it's a no-fly zone. It's on the no-fly list. You cannot get a ticket to Haiti. And so they go back and forth disparaging each other, right? But somebody makes the point, right, that in Africa, they say the values in the land, that there's resources in the land. And this guy makes a point that, yeah, they moved the native people out of the way, the Africans out of the way, and they take the value from the land. The land is the value. I explained to you about cobalt being in your iPhone and how phones are made out of cobalt. They take the value from the land. The value are not in the people. It's actually in the resources. And the counter argument that this guy gave, who represents FBA, gave was that the value here in America is in the people. It is in the people that we bring value to things. When you say Africa is valuable, right, you're talking about the land and the resources. When you say America is valuable, you're talking about the people, what they bring to it, how they create things, how they share knowledge. You understand what I'm saying? Your meekness and your value comes from you, not in the things that you have, not in the resources. They actually come from you, the creator. You guys have to understand this, that you are the creator. If you don't understand that you are the valuable resource in every situation, then you become like other countries where the value is just in the land resource that's to be taken, bribed, and stolen. But see, certain people understand that they are valuable in what they bring to a situation. This is what we mean about inheriting the earth, is that the value moves from the resource and it moves into the person. There was a time when Black Americans didn't have much value or didn't know their value. Let's say didn't know their value. But once you realize your value, once you accept your soul sovereignty, you become a commodity that can be used to uplift yourself. I really challenge people to think about this and that to understand how valuable you are to the whole system. I gave the example of if you know how to speak English, they can drop you on any place on the planet. Any place on the planet. You can open up any little school in any park. Don't even take any money. Go sit in the park and teach English classes. And you'll be rich before the end of the month. That's not something you bringing as value. That's something you are. And this can be demonstrated over and over again. That once you know your value, you know your worth. We understand in the solar plex chakra, it's an affirmation that says, I am worth my weight in gold. You guys need to practice that affirmation and understand that your being is worth its weight in gold. Let's balance the strength and compassion. A meek person, for those that just came in, we understand that meek actually means, it doesn't mean weakness. It means silent strength. A meek person balances strength with compassion. This balance creates environments where cooperation and mutual success can thrive and contribute to the collective prosperity. The point I want to focus on right here is collective prosperity. We have to get out of this mindset of that prosperity and abundance is an individual thing. Success and prosperity is a collective thing. It's not an individual thing. See, you keep trying to get rich individually, and you don't understand that you are a collection, that everyone can bring something to the table. And as we move to 5D Earth, that's going to become very clear. Where you have 3D operating on individual wealth, 5D is going to be operating on collective wealth, where everyone is doing well. Everyone is thriving. Everyone is happy and successful. This is why I don't advocate the idea of heaven and hell, because there's no one that could qualify for for heaven, if they are happy in someone's misery. How can you, and you think about it, right? Say you have a child that you love, that's a good person, right? And you love them with all your being. And then they don't choose to follow your religious path, your religious teachings. And you condemn them to hell. You condemn them to hell. How could you be happy? How could you be satisfied that this being, this person, this child, this wife, this son that you loved during y'all existence is now suffering in misery, and you're sitting there and saying they should have acted right? I tried to warn them. I tried to tell them. I don't want no parts of that. And whatever that compassion and empathy that has to be taken out of me for me to be compassionate, for me to be anti-compassionate, or to be callous on people that I care about, I don't want any parts of that. I would be a psychopath. So when we look at what 5D is and how it benefits the collective, as opposed to how 3D is individualized and it's all about the self, the ego, and we need to talk about ego versus self-sovereignty. Those are not the same things. I need to really give an understanding of that. That our prosperity and our abundance comes collectively. This is what 5D is. It's a complete happiness. It's not a place where some people are happy and some people are miserable. And then very few people are happy and the rest of the people are miserable. That's the consciousness difference. When you can look at something and say, I want everyone to be happy and thriving, that's 5D consciousness. When you look at something and say, it's just about me, that's 3D consciousness. We're going to wrap this up with inheriting the earth as a legacy. We're talking about leaving a lasting impact. Prosperity that benefits others is built on strong character that can endure across generations. This is a 5D concept. That we do things that not only benefit the collective, but also benefit generations after us. When you have wealth being accumulated by a very few people that benefit their line, collective consciousness says everyone will benefit from this wealth and prosperity. Again, it's about continuing to grow, and continually to advance yourself, to learn, to study, to take part in courses and activities that keep expanding your consciousness through mentorship, through self-training, anything that's going to keep evolving you into this 5D reality. So our starseeds, and I'm going to change that to Starseeds and Lightworkers, the biblical Meek that will inherit the earth. If they're walking in alignment with some of the principles I've laid out here, then you can see clearly that as Earth transitions from 3D to 5D, that starseeds and lightworkers will be the ones that are positioned for the new Earth. The Earth is changing. Things are happening every day, and they're going to continue to happen. My goal My desire is to prepare those that are willing to be part of that. Now, you can make a conscious decision to be part of 3D consciousness, live in survival mode, lack, struggle, resentment for those that have and you don't have, anger, or do the work on yourself to raise your consciousness, raise your vibration, and position yourself for 5D. I call this positioning for prosperity. This is part of a series I want to continue to share how we move into 5D, how that actually works. We said earlier, the work is always about yourself. It's not about anyone else. It's always about yourself. And through that work, you expand your consciousness and move into a higher vibrational state. 3D and 5D, I always question whether they can see each other. 5D can see 3D, but 3D is not capable of seeing 5D. Three D doesn't have the capacity to see 5D. It's outside of their spectrum. But 5D can see 3D, just like 3D can see 2D and 1D, right? 5D can see 3D, but 3D can't see up unless they go through 4D, which is where you do the work at. For the simple way of explaining 4D is the process in which you address your trauma. It's when you go through the dark night of the soul work, shadow work, so you get into a higher state of vibrational being. And you do that 4D work. That's what I'm here. I work with people in the 4D. I work with people in 4D to raise them into a 5D consciousness. So when it's not about seeking wealth. It's not about seeking prosperity. It's raising your vibration so that all these things happen as a result of that. We can look at a spiritual teaching that says, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all else will be added unto you. When we break that down, what is the kingdom of heaven? That is the higher consciousness. Seek your higher consciousness first, and everything else will be added to you. So that's something I wanted to share with you. If you want to get in touch with me, you can definitely click the link. You got a free consultation, course offerings, other things to help you expand your mind to do the 4D work so you can seek the kingdom of heaven in your own self and allow that prosperity and abundance be your inheritance on the earth, not something that you are seeking for. Really quickly, I want to give this example. When I've done spiritual practices, I've learned that everything's in the peripheral. When you focus on something, you lose it. But when you see it in your peripheral, you can see it clearly or understand it. What we seek, when you're seeking wealth and abundance in the 3D reality, that's low vibrational. That means you'll do anything for it. But when you raise your consciousness, all that flows towards you anyway. And as the earth goes through its transition, they're not going to be able to keep what they are being accumulated, what they're stealing, what they are lying for. That's all being gathered up for those that are doing the work. Sign Trinity. Greetings, greetings, greetings. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I trust that something said resonates with someone in their life journey. If you just came in, please click and review the video. Please throw a thumbs up and subscribe if you are not a subscriber. You can reach out to me through all the links in the description. I'm giving it a second because a lot of times I click off and people are still responding and I don't want to be rude. Thank you. Thank you. Greetings, greetings, greetings. You're right on time. I just won't be here. You can contribute to the Conscious Collectors through my Cash App, THEIPSG, if you want to continue to support what we're doing here. Thank you for asking. If you want to contribute to support what we're doing here, if you just came in here, please click on the video and watch the whole video. We do our psychic training in the beginning, and then we go into our talk. And today we were talking about our star seeds, the biblical meek that would inherit the earth and what that actually means. And we broke down that meek does not mean weakness. It means silent strength. That's the root word of meekness. It comes from a Greek word. You've been lied to about that word, like you've been lied to about everything else. So we're going to continue to try to give more clarity in a lot of these teachings to aid you in your life journey, to help you in your life journey, to take the BS out of it, the manipulation out of it, the corruption out of it, and give you something you can use to raise your consciousness and raise your vibration. All right. So again, I appreciate everyone that's given me the opportunity to share this perspective with them. Please thumb up this video. You guys are doing beautiful work supporting this channel. I am totally grateful for the Conscious Collective. I am grateful for all that support, us raising the vibration of humanity. And in closing, I want to wish, it's 4 things now. We used to say 2 things. It's going to be like 12 things in a minute. I used to say love and light in your life journey. I want to wish everyone love, light, health, and wellness. Love, light, health, and wellness. See, I had to change it up really quickly because a lot of people was taking love and light. They're like, you didn't say that. I said that, right? Okay. So now I'm saying love, light, health, and wellness in your life journey. I want you guys to have a great day. Love, light, health, and wellness.